down, will never come down. When the sun comes up, we'll be feeling how we do right now. My heart's on fire, coming down to the wire. While the world sleeps, we'll keep burning brighter and brighter.
Good morning, everyone. Oh gosh, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, excuse me. I hope I'm not coming down with something. Anthony is actually at home sick at the moment. He's got a cold. He was doing wood splitting last week with his pup, and I think pup was working him pretty hard. Either that or he got a gross overdose of ginger nuts. There's only so many ginger nuts a 4-year-old should perhaps consume in a day, and I'd expect that was exceeded when he's at pups doing wood splitting. But at any rate, we've had quite an uneventful week, which an uneventful week I'll take any week. That's always good when you have an uneventful week. That being said, there's been a lot of activity in the district at the moment with harvest season. A lot of maize is being harvested. We don't do maize anymore, but this farm grew heaps of maize for years and years and years. But we don't do that anymore, and I can't say that I miss it. When I see the choppers come into the district, all I think about is stacking and covering pits. What a job. And then an even bigger job is uncovering them, so I'm glad to not have to worry about that work. A lot of the work at the moment is revolved around feeding the animals. So I thought I'd show you just what a standard day of feeding all the livestock looks like. We run all of our own calves on the farm. They don't go out to grazing, and our heifers are all at home as well. So yeah, come along and see how it goes. I'm actually running a little bit later than I'd like to be because I had to go into town for an appointment. But the first job that I have to do is feed the calves. The wheat bran pellets arrived at the beginning of the week, and they're already starting to come through the mix, and they're quite a big pellet and they hold up really well when we mix it. The soy hulls in here, once we put it in the mixer and add the minerals and stuff, it just integrates down into a powder with the palm kernel, but the wheat bran seems to be able to handle the mixing a little bit better. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I actually don't know, but it's starting to come through slowly, so that'll give them, it's good that it just comes through slowly because it gives them an adjustment period. But the calves are just getting the same as what the cows get. It is a bit of an outfit. It takes me 6 buckets. I've got the meal, the zinc sulfate and the salt, and somehow I've got to fit in there and drive. The calves are just going into the paddocks that we did for hay last, and the logic behind that is we try and give them the best quality grass that we've got on the farm at the moment, because they had a little bit of a setback with the 3 that got facial eczema, and hopefully because it was done for hay last time there'll be less, just lower spore count, or that's what we're hoping. They're getting a little bit of silage. We started out feeding the meal in the troughs they used as calves, but they don't all fit comfortably around the feeders now. The most dominant calves would feast all the meal and the other half missed out. To give every calf an opportunity to eat meal, we use the silage as a table and spread it out along the top. It works pretty well and you don't get a big camping ground of damaged pasture around a trough. It is an option to buy a bigger palm kernel trailer, but it doesn't seem logical to buy a trailer we would most probably only use for 3 weeks of the year. The regrowth in the hay paddocks is really, really good. There's lots of heap of clover, grass is starting to come through, plantain, chicory. And there's a couple that won't touch it. Ayrshire Frisian cross. Little Belgian blue Frisian cross. This year's line of calves is a licorice all sorts mishmash of breeds. It was not our original intention to have so many crossbreds. We actually started out as a predominantly Holstein herd. The problem we faced was our Holstein cows would year in, year out have a bull-calf rate of about 80%. I have no idea why this is the case, but it has been going on for years. Our maiden heifers are bred to Jersey for an easier first calving and they have a much higher heifer calf rate, so after several years the colour of the herd started changing. We have come to think that when it comes to breeding, what you want and what you need are not always the same thing, and in our case I think we've got what we needed and the crossies are working well. These are the in-calf heifers and we've just been grazing them behind the cows for the last 3 or 4 days. We don't typically do that. They usually run on the heifer block, which is up on the hill country. But the hills take a little bit longer to bounce back after the rain, so we're just giving them a couple of extra days to grow some cover before the heifers go back up the hills. But they have to go all the way to the other side of the farm. It's the far end of the farm. It's probably about it's 1.5 to 2 kilometres, so they've got a big walk, and there's one hill down there, it's only a little pissy hill, that we graze with the heifers because it's too steep for the cows, so we might follow. I was a bit worried that the heifers would go AWOL while my trusty sidekick was recuperating. They are normally moved by following the bike, so if you go behind them they don't know whether they are coming or going. But they were good girls and followed their noses and ended up in the right place. Like the calves, they are a mishmash of breeds too. Turns out that when we put the Holstein cows to fleet feed, they had a heifer calf rate of about 60%. That is how we ended up with so many white faces. This is an old feed pad that my dad built himself when he started pad feeding. The herd was pad fed for years, but we have moved away from feeding here. It was a great facility when we used to use fine chopped silage with a mixer wagon. We moved away from fine chopped silage in favour of bales, and they don't feed out well on the pad. Because they are not fine chopped, the cows pull a lot of it out onto the concrete, which makes a huge mess and wreaks havoc on our effluent system. We maybe feed out here 2 or 3 times a year when the weather is terrible in the winter, but otherwise we get away with paddock feeding year round.
I see you're trying hard to pretend, but this house is nowhere you could ever live. Ooh, if your fingers don't feel anymore. Ooh, if you're moving but you can't get closer. She won't stop banging on the back door. She got it, oh, she got it now. It's a meltdown, screaming till her lungs are sore. She got it, oh, she got it now. You can't see, there's nothing here to defend. 'Cause there's
Right, now, don't drive into any cows. Watch, hey, you're watching the front. At this time of the year we get a good indication of whether the silage making is up to scratch in the spring and early summer. The cows have loved the silage and milked great from it, so all the effort and fanaticism earlier in the season has been worth it. I also think the quality of the balers is so much better than 15 years ago. The belt balers these days can get so much more tension in the bale, and they wrap up so much better than the old chain balers that used to rule the paddocks around these parts. Hands down, the John Deere belt balers make the best bales. The bales are so tight and heavy, they actually put a bit of pressure on our little farmer's tractor. I had hoped the cows would prefer the grass to the silage by now, but it looks like we will have to wait for more rain to come before we can reduce the amount of silage we are feeding.
Daisies blooming, sundress swaying in the breeze. Can't stop staring. You've put a spell on me. I hope you never decide to set me free. The way you're moving, it's got me moving my own feet. The greatest feeling that I could ever dare to dream is you forever moving next to me. Let's not waste time, or take this slow. We've got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be better than two. The leaves ain't waiting, their colors changing like the times. And I'm taking